there is a derby this weekend.
Oh.
Manchester City are playing at Manchester United. Everyone has gone for a different outcome with the exception of Stevie and Naden believe it's going to be a draw. Ali thinks that Manchester City are going to win this. I think Manchester United are going to win this. Jan, Frank and Kay are all going for a City win. Meanwhile, where should we start? I'm going to start with you, Ali. Why? Given everything that we've just said, is it suddenly going to click this weekend?
Well, I don't think it's suddenly going to click. Because I think there are two teams on the field, and it's really hard. While it is hard to make an argument for Manchester City, it's even harder to make an argument for Manchester United. And well, I'm sorry. Have you seen Manchester United play?
I have seen Manchester United, but I've seen glimpses, glimmers, sparks.
You're looking for the same nuances that Naden is looking for.
I just think they have found the tourniquet quicker than Manchester City will.
Speaking of the tourniquet, I think this is a moment in which we see Manchester City not necessarily turn a corner, but be slightly better than Manchester United. And in order for Manchester City to be slightly better than Manchester United, we've talked about the players. We talked about the manager. I think it's going to be important that we talk about the fans in that stadium.
And they're going to be bad.
Well, maybe, but that's why I'm calling out the fans and saying, hey, this team, more than ever, this group of players that have given you so much success, so much joy, so much happiness, they need you more than ever. I think the fans show up. I think Manchester City shows up to an extent, and they're slightly better than Manchester United. That's why they win it 2-1.
Here is my point on that, Naden. I spoke to my son, who's a season ticket holder at Manchester City. He's going to the game, and he's going to the game full of trepidation, more so than they have in so many matches against Manchester United in the past. And the problem is, you feel that that trepidation could transfer to the players on the pitch.
Possibly, but I think the players have gotten used to the last few weeks in terms of that anxiety that exists. Like, there's no scoreline that City players and like fans probably feel comfortable with now until that final whistle goes. But I think the fact that it's a Manchester derby, it sort of takes the context of whatever's going on in the season away from it anyway. I think we've seen in the last few seasons that, you know, whatever's going on in the league, whether City are top, United are pushing for top, United mid-table, whatever, kind of like the FA Cup last year, the game's the game itself. I think for both teams as well, what a way to sort of spark this next stage of the season for them, this very important Christmas period. Well, here's the Manchester derby. If you find a way to win this, the belief is enormous. If you've got 40-odd thousand City fans celebrating, that's enormous for City. If you've got the 5,000 United fans singing, that's enormous for them. You know, they can enter the top half of the table, which seems a crazy thing to say. So I wouldn't necessarily think that anxiety as such is going to make the game harder. I think in some ways, the Man City fans in this derby game will have to feel like an underdog at times because they're going to suffer. I think United, for as weird as it may sound, in this particular moment, are probably in a better position in terms of like what they're building for. Whereas for City, it feels like they're heading in the other direction. But I think as your son is going to be going there with anxiety, I think it's normal to feel that when it's a Manchester derby anyway. But I think a big result for City could be the belief that they need, because we've been talking about confidence. If you beat those rivals and you can reconnect with the fans, you can start looking up the table again, then I think it could change everything for them.
Do you really think 2-2, or are you just scared to put United winning, Naden?
To be honest, I'm gonna put this into context now, okay? I think I've said this to you before on the show. Like, this is the only time since I've retired that I've been able to have something in common with City, and it's the fact that we've won one game in 10. You know, I did that many times at City, and interestingly, one of them was a derby game. So it was the season 2006-07, and Georgios Samaras, our Greek striker, scored a penalty in January, and then we did not score a goal at home for the rest of the season. And one of those games was a Manchester derby. So a lot of the fans that went to that game, knowing full well that we were not going to win because we were incapable of scoring, you know, they will still arrive at this game and know there's actual belief because they're actually good players on the field this time. So even though you have that doubt and anxiety, they still very much have the ability to win. And maybe it's going to be one of those backs to the wall type things. You're going to be making challenges or whatever. But I think they've got the ability to do whatever it takes to firstly not lose. And the 2-2 is just to keep my United friends happy, because I'm definitely rooting for a City win.
Samaras had lovely hair, didn't he? I seem to remember. Stevie, last thought on this?
I don't see Man United winning this game, to be honest. You know, both sides defensively have been absolutely shaky. I mean, you saw United at Victoria Pilsen the other night. I mean, they were all over the shop, just the same way City are. That's why I've gone for 2-2.
Right.
Because neither side neither side look sharp going forward either. They don't look as though they're about to rip anybody apart. So it's going to. If anybody wins this, it's going to be because they've defended better than the opposition.
Right.
No, I'm sitting on the fence.
Yeah.
I just don't see either side. I don't see either side winning this game. I just can't see it. And when I look at both teams, all I see is problems.
Yes.
And they've actually, both sides have got the same problems, which is up front, middle of the park, and defensively.
And goalkeeper as well. Throw that in.
I don't know.
Bernardo going